Well, hello there, this is Chris on, I believe, Demo Day 10. It's May 9th? May 9th. Started this on the 20th, 21st, first demo day, so that's, haven't been out here every day. A lot of time has been just doing research online and things like that. So, but I want to catch you up. It's the beginning of the day for me here, and kind of show you what I'm going to do. First off, my shade tree is gone. Very efficient here. They got rid of that thing super quick. I enjoyed parking next to it, working under it. Disappointing, but it is what it is. So, over here I'm storing my plywood and my nice, like, fossilized bamboo ply. I want to get it out of there as quick as I can. Today is about getting this plywood cut down so I can put it inside and then go from there. So what do I have to do? I've got to take everything that's been sitting in there out so I can feel like I know what I'm working with. Here's the water tank. Here's the floor insulation. And here's some 2x4s. So I want to quickly talk about these 2x4s. I was looking at the original stuff, and the original stuff here, it's red here, and I don't know if it's like a cedar. That's what I'm gonna guess, like a redwood cedar, and which is great for insect repellent, natural defense against decay. What I showed you over there is there's some other 2x4s that have been added / I'm sure at least one was replaced, and that's a regular one. So when I went to the store, I was like, I want the best stuff, right? So only the best for this camper. Why do it right from the beginning so you don't have to get in there and deal with all this type of rot in the future. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's all rotted out there. Same with this piece, and that's because it's under this window and water was coming down the side. So I went and bought cedar. It was $10 for a 2x4x8, over $10 at Home Depot, and slept on it and decided, you know what, let's get some. I don't need to go that high end like the existing stuff. And I had done a little research, and there's the southern yellow pine, and there was like pressurized or what do they call it, Home Depot, weather or something, and it is pressure treated, so it had a cedar tone to it for decking, like a color, but it was actually southern yellow pine, and it was crazy waterlogged. And the problem with having waterlogged 2x4s is, when it dries out, it gets split on you, and the reviews were not good. So I remember when I was looking down the aisle, I wanted to get something like cedar or pressurized, something that's like natural against decay. And so straight up, $3 pine 2x4s, I didn't want to do. But I came across this stuff, and this is Douglas fir, which has a lot of the similar properties to cedar in that it's resistance to decay and insects. And what I read online is that, you want to get something that's kiln dried. So this is kiln dried KDDF Douglas fir, and half the price of the cedar and still some of the great properties and not waterlogged. So I know that this is gonna be how it is when I put it down on the floor. So I think I made a good, economical, smart decision there, and I want to kind of tell you guys if you're in the thinking about that stuff. So there's so many details to get lost in. That is just a perfect example. Alright, so again, got to take all this out here. You can see the kitchen is done. And you see this nice frame, I want to use that, and I was explaining to my buddy Matt that, anything I can save money on, keep the vintage aspect. But when I was in Home Depot and I thought about it more, I could get some high-end quality oak pieces, 1x2s, and rebuild this. So use this as a template. So we'll see, because if I can do that fairly inexpensively, that's really the better way to go. So I definitely want to save it as a template. I'm also going to change how the drawers are. They just had a single slat down the middle, and I marked and saved all that here, like kitchen, whatever it says, third from bottom. So I labeled all those, but they were in the middle, so drawers could kind of be left or right and snag, instead of having a traditional like guardrail on either side. And certainly they didn't have any of those gliding drawer things, so I'm going to see if I can improve it. not necessary to kind of make it as simplified as they did, for whatever reason. Let's see, what else? Okay, adhesive. I don't know if I mentioned this in the video before, but there is adhesive and staples on all this plywood, which has made it quite difficult. And in fact, when I ripped up this piece, it ripped up from the wall. And if you can see over there, that is pretty bad. So, you know, I've discovered now, I thought the floor would be fine for the most part, but it looks like, and I've marked with chalk, half of these 2x4s need to go. And some of them ripped out, like this one, because it's bad along the wall. So at a later time, I'm going to have to prop up the wall and replace that whole, I don't know if you want to call it like if you're building a deck against the house, it's a joist, but it's like along the wall. Can't think of it right now. But anyway, I'm going to have to creatively, without letting the wall fall down, collapse, replace that piece on one side and on this side, because they're in the worst shape of any of the wood here on the floor. Okay, so back to the adhesive. I'm not going to use staples, using screws. Do I want to use adhesive? I think a benefit of the adhesive is all the vibrations of transporting this thing. Also sound deadening. It won't, just that little bit of give, that probably keeps that from happening. So what I'll do is probably spot adhesive, nothing this extensive. So if you have to pull it up, it's not the end of the world, but honestly, hopefully that never happens. So I probably will add an adhesive, maybe not as much as this, but you know, if this floor ever has to get ripped out again, this whole thing's probably going to be, you know, whatever, demolished, destroyed. I don't think about that, but yeah. So again, just trying to think of how I can make it easier if I have to repair things in the future, and getting to the floor, hopefully it's something I don't want to think about after, especially dealing with this now. Okay, so another big part of the process today is, if I want to put the floor in, the plywood, the subfloor, I want to space all of these 2x4s correctly. And this is not spaced even. In fact, one of the heavier things, the water tank, and water is like 8 pounds a gallon, and that was I don't know, probably easily a 30-gallon water tank, maybe more. You know, so over 200 pounds, and the only support was this one and that one. I moved this over here, so that's I don't know, it's a poor design, but it's still there. So I'm going to pull that small one out and space all these 2x4s out between, you know, 12 to 14 inches. It won't be perfect throughout. I cannot move the ones that are bolted into the frame. You can see I put a little chalk on the top. There's one here, so in the front here. The next one is here, and then there. And they're all, you know, they vary between like 34 to 40 inches apart. So I'm going to have to play with that, cut down the plywood accordingly. I wanted to keep them all the same, so it just was the strongest, center to center on you know, maybe skip 2 and then be screwed in on, you know, the one before and after. So for instance, the first piece starts there, skips, and then this is the line, and then the next one. So anyway, all right, we'll check back in. I may do a time lapse of me putting this as soon as I kind of get a little bit further along, if this works out well, and hopefully by the end of the day I'm partway done putting the new floor in. All right, thanks. All right, over here we got Chad with Square One Studios. He is industrious. He's got his little bobcat. He hides his thing up top. He's an impressive, very busy guy. Anyway, over here I've got my little sawhorse. I'm cutting down, this is an old piece of the redwood, and this, I was going to cut these all down to be the same 2x, gee, I felt that over here, the same length of the 2x4 by, it was like 87 inches, but I decided that I needed something longer. And if you come inside here, everything's connected. So what I discovered is, they were like, you can see it here. It's effectively like 1x2, sort of. Maybe 1x2, or 2x2. That's like a 2x2, sorry. All the way down. And then they have this 2x1. So what I think happened is, they make this whole floor prefab and then bring it and drop it on the trailer and then build up from there and bolt it all together. So if you think about, like, all right, how am I gonna renovate, whatever, restore this thing? And I wanna put a 2x4 here. So putting a 2x4 is longer than this, you know, 1x2 and 2x2. Sounds like it should be the same. You can see it here, but it's actually a little different. So I'm gonna take all that out, put a 2x4 in here, and that effectively shortens the length of this a little bit. So while I was originally to cut all new joists, I decided that this header, as I was trying to remember before effectively, this is like just framing out like a stud wall on the bottom. Because it's wider, it's gonna shorten all these studs, so it's best that I replace this first. I also found out that all this floor here is stapled from the underside, so I was gonna patch this floor in places, but depending on how these staples come out and the holes and stuff, they hold up well, maybe I can keep it. If not, I'm gonna have to replace this bottom piece and see, I don't know how expensive that's gonna be. But anyway, so what I'm gonna do is, I'm taking out this whole piece, about 100 inches all the way down. I already cut the bolts, the bottom. I had a carbide blade, metal and wood, and it already ate through the teeth, so I'm gonna take that back to Home Depot and get something different. Refund on that is disappointing. But anyway, I had to cut through the bolts to where it's into the metal. So get that piece out and then breaking it apart. But I'm gonna put in a new 2x4 and then make the stud. So that was just a short little thing to show you where I've been so far on this floor project and what I'm gonna do. So, all right, hopefully when you see me again here, I'll have this new piece. All right, quickly here, I wanted to add a little bit to what I said last. So, how am I able to pull up this subfloor without the whole thing collapsing? Well, what I forgot to mention before is the trailer has two metal, like I-beams, if you will, coming down. It's the outside of the trailer, coming right down the middle here, that are supporting, so I can walk anywhere and not worry about it falling. Secondly, I talked about it being prefab. I think even the walls were prefab, because if you look at how it was all nailed together, and I'll go in real close, it's some big nails. So I think the whole thing was dropped on here. So I've got these 2x4s to prop it up, so when I do get into that wall a little bit more, the top doesn't collapse. Now outside, I want to capture a little something. Chad took the tree down yesterday. My landlord, Chad and Brian, there's co-owners here at Square One, and this is the reason. He moved the container where that bunny was hanging out the other day over here. So actually I'll be tucked in nicely between a couple things. So anyway, what you missed is the process of him loading it on the flatbed there. It kind of, the whole back set of axle stayed in place while that ramp went down and lifted it to kind of pull it up on it. So you could find a video of that online if you wanted to see what that looks like. But anyway, that's it. So I'm gonna be wedged between a container here and a truck here, so nice and secure. I missed the tree shade, but that's gonna be kind of cool. Maybe make the space a little safer. All right, so here's my excess 2x4s, or not excess, but ones that I bought for the floor, the Douglas fir. But I have them here in the interim, so it's a nice slide ramp while I drop things out, pulling out old pieces of 2x4, pulling out all the staples that used to be there and deciding if it's salvageable or not. So far, one of them I can save. This one, I think I gotta replace this for sure. So what I'll do is I'll cut it off to where the rod is done, and then, you know, use it for something else. So that's what I did with the two supports in there. Those are the and also to throw on the floor while I'm moving about. So, but let me just show you underneath real quick what I was talking to, because I think I kind of said it a little wrong. No, it's correct. Okay, yeah, so you've got the trailer. Obviously it kind of turns into a Y at the tongue, goes out. So you've got these two members, one here and one there, and they're not all the way at the outside, so they're supporting the floor through the middle. So that's how I can put 2x4s across these two and yet still work on the wall That doesn't mean that I can take down the wall without it collapsing, because it's still being supported at the corner, so I have to prop it up as I showed you. So that's about it. Yeah, so that is it. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so through the vantage of my camper window here, show you how the windows kind of angle out. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, you can see here, you didn't see it loading, but you can see it unloading. So the truck's pulling away, the wheels are going with it, and the container's just sliding off. Very nice. So yeah, if you bought a container home, this would be one of the ways they could drop it on site. This is I can't tell if it's a high boy, but it is about 40 foot long. So yeah, and there's Chad.